So rich people are like, whoa, so cool area. Look how cheap. And they buy a row of apartments, and then a bakery opens up.
Yeah, yeah,
Fancy, artisan bakery and artisan brewery and
yeah. Exactly,
craft
exactly,
beer and
exactly.
all this stuff that goes along with it. And then all of a sudden, the prices start to go up like crazy.
Exactly, exactly,
And then the
exactly.
artists who started the gentrification can
Yeah,
no longer afford to live there.
exactly,
It's like
exactly,
the
exactly.
craziest thing, but it's a process,
That's the point.
and it
Yeah.
happens over time.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Crazy Angels podcast with Pascal Dennis and David Logan. Hi guys.
Hey guys,
Hello, I am a crazy angel. Take me to
we
your
are the
leader.
Crazy Angels.
Each of us is a unique angel, and you can collect all five. I don't know what
And
this is.
Whoa.
today we talk about another epic song, Once Upon a Time in Detroit City. And for a start, David, we ask you for a small snippet of the song.
Yeah, of course. Here, let me just share my screen. And here we go. I'll start on the verse and we'll go bridge to chorus.
Walk along the river once upon a time. Diana Ross was singing, and you put your hand in mine. Cathedral bells were ringing, oh, once upon a time. A happy choir was singing, and the music was divine. Then they called me to serve, and they sent me overseas. Nothing by the river now, but barren trees. Now I'm back in my city, but my city's on its knees. And I walk by the river, nothing here but memories. Isn't it a pity? Once upon a time, you put your hand in mine. Music was divine in Detroit City. We'd walk along the boulevard. Our neighborhood was fine.
There we go, a little taste.
Wow, those horn lines get me every time. What an arrangement, man.
They were hard,
Man.
actually. They were hard. This was,
Oh,
I had to revise a lot. But yeah, I'm happy to.
wow.
Super
So
cool,
there we
super
go. There's a
cool.
little taste.
Super, super cool. For a start, Pascal, can you explain us a bit about the story behind the song or the inspiration?
Yeah, I had a wonderful gig some years ago at Ford Motor Company. It was early in my career, and for 3 years I worked at the Mustang factory in Dearborn, Michigan, just outside of Detroit. And the factory was largely African American, so I made a lot of friends in the community, and I heard a lot of their stories. And after the shift, we'd go to the local bars, and I met incredible characters and got to know what Detroit is really about. And so I've loved the city ever since. I always liked it before, but I had just much more context. And the story is based on the ones that I heard. So it's about a Vietnam veteran that comes back to his city, and it's not what he remembers. It's a
Hmm.
burnt out husk of a city. It's broken glass and weeds, and as he says, there's nothing left, just barren trees along the river. And he remembers a different city, with well, I'll just read the lyric. We'd walk along the river once upon a time. Diana Ross was singing. You put your hand in mine. Cathedral bells were ringing. Once upon a time, a happy choir was singing. and the music was divine. But now I'm back in my city, and the city's on its knees. I walk by the river, nothing here but memories. Isn't it a pity? Once upon a time, you put your hand in mine in Detroit City. Music was divine. Once upon a time in Detroit City. So it's um, a,
Mm,
a song about decay and collapse, but there's also rebirth in it. So there's a defiance in the vocal, in the wonderful arrangement in the horn lines. And it's that old Taoist idea that's so important to our band, which is that in death, there's life as well. So
mm,
Detroit has gone through a terrible, terrible period, and the old architecture and the factories and the jobs that sustain the community, many of them are gone, but they are coming back
mm,
because the
mm,
people are resilient and they're tough. They have good humor. And so it's a song about death, but it's also a song about rebirth. And
mm,
underlying all of it is Motown, the music I grew up with. So the great Berry Gordy and Smokey Robinson and the Temptations and the Four Tops and Diana Ross and
mm.
Marvin Gaye and all the rest. So all of this is informing this song. So, it's very, very dear to me, just like the city is. Yeah.
Beauty, beauty. And I think David, you did really justice to the songwriting again. Um, please walk
I
us
do my
through what
best.
you and the
Oh,
band did, because
what
I mean
arrangement.
this is a beautiful team effort, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
this
wow.
one was, I mean, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And the wait a second here. Let me just pull this up here. Um, and where are we here? There we go. So yeah, I mean, this was, yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know, I am only 10 years younger than Pascal, so my mother, who was older than Pascal, also, there was always Motown records playing and
Yeah.
the Beatles, and she didn't like the Rolling Stones. That's correct. Um, compared to the Beatles and Motown. So yeah, and I as you're talking about this, I want to just point something out about cities. So what happens is a lot of the times when a city gets economically depressed and destroyed, and like Detroit did, you know, and this is a story it's really quite timeless. That
Hmm.
cities go into decline, right? And what used to be amazing areas then become awful and decrepit, and people sell their houses, and there's literally nothing there anymore. And then what happens is eventually a gentrification happens. So
Hmm.
all the artists, so a lot of the abandoned buildings and abandoned houses in Detroit, eventually they were just put up fire sale auction, and then a
Yeah.
lot of artists went in there and bought those houses real
Hmm.
cheap, and and set up, like, a community of artists and thinkers. But this happens everywhere, you
Yeah. Yeah.
know. If we look at the Brewery District or the Junction District in Toronto, our
Yeah.
city,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
these were areas that were just decrepit and abandoned. And,
Yeah.
Cherry Beach was
Hmm.
once a great, we have a song about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Along the docks, which,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
shh, that's on album
Album
zero.
Zero.
Shh,
We'll be
don't tell
talking about
anybody
Album
about
Zero
it.
in the months to come. We're gonna take care of it.
Rule number one, we don't talk about it. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and so those areas now are like the Brewery in Toronto and the Junction are like cool, they're hip, they're happening, they're gentrified. And then guess what happens? It gets too expensive for all the artists
Mhm.
that began that process of gentrification, that began buying those old decrepit houses and fixing them up. So I just wanted to kind of add that in
Yeah.
as an aside before I talk about the arrangement. So
If I may interject,
Please.
yeah,
and this
please.
is a question. What,
Mm.
so apart from the rise of cost of living, what do you think does gentrification cause in a district?
What do I think it
Like,
caused?
is it does it have any negative impact from a society perspective or from
Yeah.
Yes, it
art
does,
Well, yeah.
perspective?
because
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, from it's exactly what happened. So I'll say it again because this is like it's totally negative. So just imagine any crappy, shitty neighborhood, and it's economically depressed, and
Yeah,
people are
yeah,
poor,
yeah,
and they maybe are renting, and it's a cheap rent.
yeah.
And then the artists can't live in the center of the city anymore. So they sort of find the
Right.
cheapest areas of their city that they can find. And so the artists move there.
Yeah,
Okay, and guess what they do? They create an art scene. They do
yeah, yeah, yeah.
poetry readings and they have
Okay, okay, okay.
live bands playing. And then all the cool people, they all of a sudden go to those gentrified, the areas that are becoming the beginning of gentrification is when
Mhm.
the artists come. That's
They
the
make the
beginning.
area cool, which was,
Cool.
shit and
Exactly.
dirty before, and
Yep.
they
So it's
created
like
this beautiful
dirty and
creative
decrepit
space,
and
and now they're
nasty.
getting pushed out of their own
Yeah.
home,
So what,
their
yes.
own
So then they
creative
create, let's just call it a
sphere.
hipster art scene they
Yeah,
create,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Hmm.
And then what that does is other people want to be in that cool area. So rich people are like, whoa, so cool area. Look how cheap. And they buy a row of apartments. And then a bakery opens up,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
fancy, artisan bakery and artisan brewery and
Exactly,
craft
exactly,
beer and
exactly.
all this stuff that goes along with it. And then all of a sudden the prices start to go up like crazy.
Exactly,
And then the
exactly, exactly.
artists who started the gentrification can
Yeah,
no longer afford to work to live there.
exactly,
It's like
exactly,
the
exactly.
craziest thing, but it's a process
That's the point.
and it
Yeah.
happens over time. And I don't
Hmm.
know, Pascal, like you're maybe remember the brew or the
Yeah.
Junction area
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
How is it like
Well,
about 10 years was it that it kind of
something like that. And I
yeah,
mean, just to build on your point, I've seen the
yeah.
same pattern, not just in our city, Toronto, and these areas, but also I mentioned Detroit, Cleveland, Buffalo, New York,
Mm.
Toledo, Ohio. I've got a song about Toledo, Ohio that we're going to release in some time. And the same thing. Beautiful old Victorian cities, for example, that were industrial powerhouses, and then their luck just changed. But the people still have that toughness and resilience, and they show this, this bright face to life, and the beautiful architecture's there, decrepit, but that tr attracts the crazy angels. It attracts the artists, and they make it beautiful again. And so all these cities are having a renaissance, and some of them are being gentrified in the way you say, which sadly will push out the artists. One of the most poignant stories I heard was that New York City, which is maybe further advanced on this, still has these old artists, now they're in their 70s and 80s, living in these rent-controlled lofts, etc., in Tribeca and the Lower East Side and so on. And they're still artists, they're still painting, and there are I saw photo sets of some of these places, and they're just magnificent. They're painting on the walls, but when they pass,
That's
the
it.
developers are gonna do something else with them and make them gazillion
Yeah.
dollar condos,
Also,
right?
just for anybody interested, Pascal has a song called Banks and Churches that
Yeah,
he
yeah,
based on a conversation. I was just telling Pascal one
yeah,
day,
yeah,
like, have you noticed, like, the West Annex, like, they're taking these churches because no one goes to church and developers are going in and they're making lofts. And have you noticed that every old bank, because now banking is all done online, you
yeah,
notice
yeah,
that they're all Starbucks now?
yeah,
And he's like, yeah, man, you're right. Boom. And he goes and he writes a song.
yeah.
So if anybody's
Well,
interested, we have a song called Banks and Churches, which is,
same idea.
it's not like, yeah, it's a different city, it's a different vibe, it's a different experience, but it's this idea of gentrification and of decrepit areas of a city, you know, springing back to life because of
Yeah.
artists.